Hello, folks. It's really great. Yes, it's awesome to see everybody, and amazing panel here tonight. We haven't been together. I was telling folks that, it feels like we're getting ready to start a production meeting or something. Maybe we could have a good time designing something. I'm Shannon Studstill, and I'm going to do a little intro here for myself so you understand sort of who I am and how wonderful and amazing the crew is here. I've had an incredible honor over the course of the last 20 years being part of the God of War journey from the very beginning. And I was one of the original founders of Santa Monica Studio in 1999. And I partnered with Dave Jaffe on that very first God of War. And years later, I was moved into the head of studio role and rode that wave for a while. And, I think one of the more, the first 10 years were very standout in terms of building that franchise. And we'll hear from some of the folks here today. But in coming back to the studio, as the head of studio, I found myself at a crossroads in about 2013, where we were faced with the choice of resting the franchise. Like literally, corporate was really enforcing the idea of, not enforcing, but inspiring the idea of us resting God of War for an indefinite period of time. And that choice, I really felt like really needed to live within the walls of the studio. And it was either, kind of venture into new IP and discover that world, or find a new way forward with the team around what God of War could be. And it was a very daunting decision, right? But I believed in everybody sitting here and everyone throughout the world that had worked on the franchise at the time, and I felt like there was more to explore. And there was no doubt about that with the sort of vision that this team and various years of work brought to the studio. I couldn't be prouder of what this team accomplished in taking the leap forward at that time. And following the 2018 reboot of the franchise, which was a heavy, heavy lift for the team. And then, of course, expanding that vision further with God of War Ragnarok. Over the years, I've witnessed firsthand, specifically around the team and the individuals in this room, that the driving force behind the franchise lives inside of their hearts. Their passion and the success of the franchise lives within the way that they envision Kratos and the world, and sustaining that beloved storyline over 20 years. The enduring legacy wouldn't be possible without their dedication, along with the countless team members who are, somewhat still at Santa Monica, but also have ventured off into various studios throughout the industry. I'm so proud to celebrate all of their work with you here tonight, and the incredible fan base that we've been able to partner with and build with. And through every step of this journey, this has been an amazing experience, and we're very thankful for everything that you guys have brought to us and inspiring us to be our best selves and bringing that into Kratos and his world over the course of the last 2 decades. So thank you. One of the things that I feel like we all prided ourselves on in Santa Monica was, we weren't cookie cutter, right? We were always thinking outside the box. And that was very much true in the way that talent grew within the studio. So I thought we would start with the first question for the group here. Where did you start at Santa Monica? And I think, just looking here at the panel, a lot of folks here started and evolved over the course of many years into different roles. So let's talk a little bit about where we started and where you are today. And even if you aren't at Santa Monica anymore, because we do have a couple folks that have ventured off, how did Santa Monica influence you today? So maybe we start with Mr. Pappy with an intro.
Hello. So I started in 2003 at Santa Monica as a senior level designer. And then basically did the fight encounters as well as tuning and owning levels and working with the team. From there, I actually left the company for about 15 months and then came back. I think I was the first to start that trend. And then I was there until 2013, and during that time, I moved from senior level designer in combat encounters for God of War 2 to design director for God of War 3, and then finally to game director for Ascension. From there, I moved to Germany, worked at Crytek and then Star Citizen for many, many years, and then finally I'm at Lightspeed as a creative director. So, as Shannon was saying, that the team, like, they strive for excellence. It's basically the other thing is that it embraces people coming at it from different angles. You know, so everybody thinks differently, and I think it's the culmination of all of those ideas coming together. And anybody can have a good idea, and then they'll say, yes, that's great, and then do it.
Mr. Raf?
Well, this way?
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Raf Garcetti. I think I joined maybe a year after. Yeah, it was right at transition between, after Ascension, and we were starting, Corey came back to the studio. We were starting the new God of War. So I got a chance to work closely with Corey and Bella Longfish, Jose Cabrera, as one of the lead artists to design Kratos and Atreus and the whole kind of new, cast. And we finished that project, and I worked as an art director with Eric Williams on God of War Ragnarok. And then the last thing that I did was just help put together the DLC, the Valhalla DLC with Bruno and here, those guys, and then ended up leaving for a little bit and over at Naughty Dog, working on Intergalactic.
Can I make you talk about your journey and why, just real quick, where you grew up and what Santa Monica meant to you?
Well, yeah, thank you.
I think people would love to
Not
hear
important, Shen. I grew up in Brazil. I started working with art very young, doing traditional sculpture in Brazil. And then when the industry kind of moves to kind of digital sculpting in the computer, I made that transition to start using ZBrush and making characters. And I got some highlights of my character work in Brazil that made me move to Canada to work at BioWare. And then I kept in contact with Sony when I was in Canada and ended up going to San Diego to work at Sony Visual Service Studios. And, Sony VSG, as we used to call it, did work for Santa Monica. And that's how we make that transition, because they were working on a new project and, it all kind of lined up. But I think, the attention for craft, if that's what you're trying to get me to say, the attention for craft and how the studio approached, the craft, like as you can see on these walls, and with this guy right here, it's always been like a focus, right? Like a kind of something to always target as an artist. So when I got the chance to get into the studio and experience that investment into the craft has been transformative for my own artwork. So, yeah, thank you, Shen.
Mr. Cecil.
Okay. My name is Cecil Kim. So I used to work at Square. So I worked on Final Fantasy IX for PlayStation 1. So that's 3 years. And then after that, I miss LA. So I joined Santa Monica Studios 2001. That's like less than 20 people. That's before God of War even started. But to me, and then I stayed through about 11 years. I was originally one of the concept guy building the world. Charlie Wen, who's not here, exceptional visionary. He was always next to me. He's designing Kratos. I'm drawing Mountain Olympus. And then God of War 1, 2, 3, and then Ascension. When Todd Pepe was director, I left Sony to see my potential and start my own company. But we never left Sony in my heart, because Sony always tried to support my company by outsourcing some weapon designs, and we ended up also making art book for Ascension. Now I'm back to kind of like Sony family. It used to be like that game company. I'm a studio art director, working on new games and also Sky. So to me, when I look back, I think just pure young and youth, humble, because we didn't know, we weren't proven developers back then, and we didn't know how the game is going to be awesome. So I feel like I went through this underdog experience, like small sports team, and slowly won a World Cup or World Series. And I cannot believe how studio actually come up with brand new, like God of War in terms of the combat and everything, and still like reach the top. And I have huge admiration for the studio and Ariel and Shannon and everyone, even Ralph. So I'm just honored to be here, to be invited again. Yeah, it's like family to me. Yeah.
It is like family.
Yeah.
So I'm Ariel Lawrence. I started with Santa Monica right after getting out of college in 2003. I was a video editor and a production assistant. So I cut the TGS demo that we showed the first time we showed back when, oh my God, so many years ago, and then worked through production on God of War 1, 2, 3, Ascension, and I was 2 years into 2018, and I had to kind of figure out who I was without the family. So I went on a bit of a walkabout, as some people say. I was at Riot for 5.5 years or so, and I worked as a writer and narrative director there. And then I really missed home. And I came back in 2021 as a writer, but now I'm a game director. So it's been quite a journey on all sides. I just love this team. And I think the bar of excellence is really put in you. And it's something that I've seen everybody who's ever come through Santa Monica carry with them when they go out into the world and make more awesome games. So I'm really, really proud to be a part of the family.
Hard to top that. Good day, everyone. My name is Mihir Sheth, and first of all, I just want to say that I recognize a lot of faces in the audience, a lot of fans here. So it's awesome for you guys to all come here and support us today. Thank you. Yeah. So, brief intro. My story is a little different than some of the people here. When God of War 1 came out in 2005, I was in 9th grade in high school. I actually had Cecil's artwork as my desktop background, not to make you feel too old. But I grew up in Dubai in the Middle East, and I was interested in getting into game development. And God of War was one of the rare titles at that time in God of War 1 and 2 that actually had behind the scenes, right? And I'm sure many of you know that, Ariel helped make them. And I was looking at those videos, and they kind of showed the creative passion of a team that I was like, I don't know how to do this one day, but I really want to do that. Long story short, ended up moved over here to LA, went to college, and then ended up joining the studio in 2012 on a different title. But my first time contributing to a shipped game was on Mr. Todd Pappy's God of War Ascension, where I joined just for a month, but it was a pretty crazy month. I helped audio implementation, and my first check-in broke the build, and I was at Jeff Major's desk apologizing that I had done that. So fast forward through the years, I've worked predominantly on combat under the legend Jason McDonald that I'm sitting next to for many years, and eventually was helping on lead combat design on God of War Ragnarok, and then worked as co-game director on Valhalla with Rio Velasquez further down. But yeah, as everyone said, it's been an incredible journey. I think the thing about Santa Monica Studio that really stands out is just the passion for craft and doing right by people. We try to do right by the fans. We try to do right by each other as developers. As you can see, we're all here connected today, even if many of us have kind of moved on in our career journey. Shannon coming back to moderate this is extremely special. And just really quick shout out to Eric Williams, who's there in the back and very quiet about all of this, for kind of helping coordinate all of this.
All right, I don't know what to say after that, but thank you, sir. My name's Jason. I guess my story begins in college when probably begins way before that, because I played a lot of video games. Like, I played too many video games. Parents were always telling me to stop, kept going. And I played everything under the sun, and I wanted to do that. So college, I was like, hey, I'm gonna be computer science, because I was like, I don't know how else to get in there. So started to do that. Wasn't exactly the biggest fan of it, I'm not gonna lie, but I was like, I don't know, I was starting to doubt. And then the last 2 classes I took at USC were them starting their game program, and they had a couple of classes. They had one that was like a Maya animation class, and one that was a modeling class. I was like, all right, so I made some really crappy things, you know. But in that studio, little did I know, one of the TAs actually worked at Santa Monica Studio, and he advertised like some playtest. So one day, you know, I sent my email out to them. I was like, you know what, screw it, I'll give it a shot. Let's see if they need anybody for the playtest. And they called me the day of the playtest because they needed an extra person. So I left my job, gave some excuse, raced over there, and I played the demo for God of War 1 back in 2004, 2004. After I played that, I gave a bunch of feedback, and then I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm about to graduate. Maybe you have an opening. Maybe you need some help. And then I think pretty much immediately they were like, yes, we need some help. and I got like the quickest interview. I think Todd Pappy was one of the people interviewing me. I sat at his desk. I remember rotating a cube, like sweating, like trying to figure out if I still remembered how to use Maya. But I did, and I got the job. Started with audio scripting in God of War 1. And then I used to nag Mr. Eric Williams back there about combat a little bit, and Derek Daniels as well. And basically, they gave me the chance to join the combat team on God of War 2. So God of War 2, built a bunch of enemies, built a bunch of bosses, did all that stuff. God of War 3, I was still there, so I started building Kratos, because other people started to vanish and do other things. Gave me the opportunity to try that, so I did that. God of War Ascension, I was a lead combat on that one. Got a chance to work on multiplayer, work on everything, just really learn how to do all this stuff. And then went ahead and made God of War 2018, and then I was design director on Ragnarok. So I've been there for my 20th anniversary was last year, I suppose. So. Thank you. I don't regret it. Definitely, it's did a lot of good stuff. I mean, I guess it would be pretty awkward if I did regret it. But yeah, no, we a lot of ups and downs, lots of highs, lots of lows, but many more highs. And I'm definitely thankful for all the people I got to meet and work with during the journey. So yeah, happy to be here and happy to see all the fans as well, because without you guys, we would have stopped making this game long ago. So.
I'm Bruno Velasquez. I'm currently a game director at Santa Monica Studio. It's pretty crazy because it all started in 2006 in Shannon's office, actually, when I was being interviewed by her. She was one of the persons that interviewed me when I first joined the studio. So the fact that she's here almost 19 years later, asking me questions again, it's kind of neat, I didn't expect that we would end up here, but yeah, Shannon has been an integral part of making God of War what it is today, of making Santa Monica Studios culture, like she built it. So definitely God of War wouldn't be here without Shannon. So I want to say thanks to Shannon for sure. So I was born and raised in Mexico City. My father always took me to museums, so I was always involved with art from the get-go. So I knew I wanted to do something with art, no matter what it was. I didn't know what it was. But once I came to the States, I went through a bunch of things of like comic book artists and this and that, and eventually I landed on animation. I went to Cal Arts to study character animation. And then one day there was a post-it note on a board that said, video game animation internship, no pay. And I said, let's do it. So I went there, I joined this company, and that's where I met Corey Barlog. He was the lead animator. And he took a 3D Studio Max book, put it on my desk and says, just read this and let me know if you have any questions, right? So it was great learning under Corey. And of course, I got to work with folks like Eric Williams there. And a lot of the animators that are currently still at Santa Monica are also, they started there at that small company. Eventually they went off. They all took off to go make a little game called God of War. I stayed behind for a bit. And it was awesome because then I became a God of War fan. When I saw what they made, what the studio created, and I got to play it like you guys experienced it the first time, that's how I became a God of War fan, like you guys. And there was an opportunity for me to go join them and follow them to work on the sequel. And I was like, absolutely. When can I start? And when I arrived there, it was like, well, we have this thing called the 3D demo for E3, and a demo for E3, and it's like in 2 weeks, so get to work, right? So it was trial by fire. And at the time, Medi-Yusef, the lead animator on Kratos, and Corey and Eric, they gave me a shot. They said, all right, let's see what you got. Why don't you animate one Kratos special? So I was able to do one Air special, and they liked it enough that made it into the E3 demo. And the rest of it is history because they allowed me to just work on Kratos at the time. So I animated Kratos on God of War 2, 3, and some of it in Ascension. I got a chance to build Kratos with Eric Williams on God of War 2, with Jason McDonald on God of War 3. Got to work with Todd Pappy on Ascension. So it was an awesome journey working with all these guys. And eventually, the reboot God of War, the soft reboot God of War 2018, got a chance to work with Corey once again, and then Ragnarok with Eric. So it's been an amazing journey. This franchise is just, I love it. Like I love every day that I go to work, and I'm so happy that there's so many of you here and around the world that still enjoy this franchise after all these years, and I couldn't be happier. So thank you all. Thank you. Oh yes. Yeah, I almost forgot. I got to do a little thing with this guy down here, Mihir Chef. We got to direct a DLC for Ragnarok called Valhalla, and that was an amazing experience. Like going from animation to not having to worry about a lot more things was a big jump, but we appreciate the trust that they put on us, Mihir and I. So hopefully you guys played it and enjoyed it too. So.
Bruno is speaking about Corey. I don't know how many people know, but Corey started as an animator at Santa Monica, or at a different company, but came into Santa Monica. We were at a very critical point with God of War 1, where we were not able yet to really capture who Kratos needed to be. So Dave Jaffe knew visually what he wanted Kratos to be, but we weren't able to actually be, sort of implement that the way he had envisioned. And we were suffering in an animation way, and so I made this crazy decision. This is like, I don't know, whatever, how many years ago. Not a great decision necessarily in today's world, with the fact that I was like, we're gonna hire 2 lead animators, and one will end up, hopefully, being able to carry the torch of this vision that Dave had. And within days, Barlog had stepped into the role with another lead animator there. We were very desperate, and he was able to nail. I remember Dave coming into my office going, "Barlog's got it." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Yeah, that guy knows what exactly this character needs to be." And we have the vision implemented behind the sort of the visceral anger that Kratos was embodying. And shortly after that, Barlog was like, "Hey, I've got this guy, Eric Williams, I'd love to bring in and give a shot." And I spent a little bit of time with him, walking him through the game, and he seemed a little bit knowledgeable about the industry and kind of what we were trying to do. So figured, yeah, let's get him in and get a shot too. And he's been an amazing partner, friend, and big, long-time believer in this franchise. One other quick thing that I think is really worth sharing with folks, like there's a tremendous trust that has grown over the course of many years at Santa Monica. And just from my experience outside of the walls of the studio, that's not easy to build. So it's really up to these individuals, and some of the folks that couldn't be here tonight really have set that foundation of how to create. And that creation all begins with being able to throw out ideas and be vulnerable in that. And I just want to inspire everybody here, just be in that space of trust, and really be offering your vision, your ideas in ways that you're going to figure out those folks that you can trust, and you're going to want to build and leverage those creators for the continuation of your journey as a fan, as an artist, an innovator, whatever it is. That trust is really critical, and these folks are, along with another subset of leaders within the studio, have been really foundational for that. With all of that, I gave a little blurb on sort of a memory with Barlog. It would be great to hear any of the moments that you've had that were standout for you at the studio that really set the path forward. I think Todd, probably Jason, in terms of gameplay. Can you speak to a moment that you either felt like, holy shit, this is going to end up on the cutting room floor, or maybe it was a moment of like, wow, I can't believe this worked?
Well, I remember tuning the game, and basically we were crunching, and so we were working very late nights, and Dave Jaffe would be hopped up on, I think, Diet Coke and Red Vines, and so he'd be sitting at my desk, and we'd be playing through the game, and he asked me, he's like, or I think I asked him, I'm like, what score would you be happy with from like a Metacritic standpoint? And he's like an 8. And that kind of stuck with me. And then I remember we played it over Christmas, and it would, we had some oh shit moments, like this needs a lot of work still. And then I got married and came back the next week, and we worked like 104 hours. And but we did some very quick polishing, quick tuning, and it turned into the product it was. So like it was just trusting the process and trusting the team to make those right decisions.
I just whispered trust again. It's
Yeah.
trust is so foundational.
I mean, it's for us, like, again, it's, I guess all of us have been in the industry, so like games come and go. It's the team, it's the culture of the company and everything like that. So, like that's what I always look for.
Jason, Mahir, you got any of the memories?
Why not? The thing I remember a lot, probably because I'm staring at Eric's face over there this entire time, is that when I was hired as a combat designer, I would play the combat designers in mini fighting games, and I would lose almost every single time. I thought I was good. I played a lot of fighting games, Street Fighters, Tekken, all of them, you know, but I would come and get my ass handed to me repeatedly over and over and over again. But while I was doing that, it's like I was, you know, taking my revenge out, making my boss fights and stuff like that. And I remember the very first boss fight that I took to a playtest was the big Medusa that was in God of War 2. And we went into the testing room. You know, I was like, okay, my boss is going to be playtested. They had TVs that showed like players' faces and playing. And they get to that fight, and that fight was just kicking everybody's ass like for almost like an hour. And that fight's like 5 minutes long, you know. So they were sitting there for like an hour, and I was seeing in their faces my own face, like just losing over and over and over again. And I was like, that's it, I'm done. I was like I'm not gonna make it through this one. But then all the playtest scores came back, and they all loved it. And I was like, oh wow, you know, it's like pain is fun, you know. Well, not the exact takeaway, but basically it's like, so we went back, figured out how to retool that fight. But I always remember that moment, because that moment was one where, you know, you start to realize like, you know, what types of things people enjoy. And I was happy to see that some of what I enjoy is kind of in there for a lot of people. Like, I can't let them fight that boss for an hour. That's not going to work. But if we can still make you feel fun, you know, without that kind of pain, then that's what I always strive for. So.
At the beginning of the production for God of War 2018, and we were looking at both characters, Kratos and introducing Atreus, there was this whole effort to try to figure out what Atreus should look like. And as you remember, I think the hair was such a big deal. It was like, is he gonna have hair? Is he gonna be bald? Is he gonna...
He was bald, come on, he was bald for like 2 years.
So yeah, I remember when you came to my desk and he was like, you better put hair on this kid.
Yeah.
And then Corey wanted him to be bald. It was kind of like, oh, let's, you know, see the connection there. And he was kind of like a little sick as I was a kid. But I remember, maybe that's the traumatizing part, where I had to please Shannon and please Corey at the same time, and we ended up just kind of putting in the game with hair, even though we kind of like made up our minds that he was not going to have hair. And then everybody then started to like, I remember Ken Roy, the guy from finance, would come talk to me about this. It's like, what is happening? So it's kind of, it was a fun experience, but like, it just shows the passion. Like, everybody wants it to be perfect, and everybody wants it to be their baby, you know? And it was kind of, once we figured out that he was going to have hair and we got the tech to do it, it was done.
You know, we didn't know what God of War, the first one, would do. We were working on it so hard that when it finally released, we were like, oh, wow, everybody loves it. And then the company came around and was like, okay, you're going to make the second one, and you're going to do it in half the time, and it's going to be twice as long with more bosses and enemies. And all of us were like, okay. And we did it. And I don't remember a lot of sleep those years. But I think just like the team working together in the middle of the night and changing things, and just the commitment of like, we did it once, can we do it again? And I think that push, that drive happens every time. I've seen a lot of God of Wars come, and the rally at the end. I think close is probably one of my favorite times. It's crazy sauce, and a lot of midnight ice cream, and a lot of yelling and controllers and all sorts of things. But I think that's where the magic happens. So I don't know.
God of War 2, I won't mention names from a corporate perspective, but the inspiration was combat only, no story. So that was a pretty big sort of insulation that a few folks on the team and I needed to show that Kratos had a character arc that we wanted to continue to explore. So that's one of the great things about PlayStation as a publisher. We are first party. They really did trust the development team a lot. So we were able to show the value of it, and we were given the opportunity to continue the legacy, and obviously for many years to come. Do you have anything, Bruno?
I miss E3, to be honest. I miss E3 because E3 created so many incredible memories for all of us throughout the years. Because, okay, I miss it and I don't miss it at the same time. Because we had to create these demos that would take a lot of additional time and work just for that one day, right? Mm-hmm. For those couple of days that you had to show it off. But at the same time, it was such a rally point for the team. Like, we would all come together and be like, we have no option but to have this thing done for E3 because people are gonna play it, people are gonna see it, people are gonna react to it, right? But at the same time, it was fun to see. It was a boost of energy in the middle of the production because you would go back to the office and be like, oh my God, let's do it, let's go, let's finish this thing. Like some of the memorable moments, God of War 2 E3 demo was so much fun to work on. God of War 3, we had Ed Boon, the co-creator of Mortal Kombat, waiting. He waited in line. I mean, of course, we kind of snuck him into the front. But the moment that he got to the Helios head rip and he did it and he performed it, I was watching him and I saw his reaction and he just nodded yep, this is it. So I knew we were like, yes, we did it. Let's go finish this game. But, and then of course, God of War 2018 reveal. It's I'm feeling chills right now just thinking about how it all came together, how in the world did that not get leaked? How it's incredible how it's, we all had to don't wear any God of War shirts or anything, nothing that says Sony or Santa Monica, snuck the whole team into the auditorium. And it was just insane the way how it was all put together. Ascension reveal, how we revealed the multiplayer and surprised everybody. That was awesome. All those kind of moments are I just think about how the team came together for those moments and how they all worked out and how we surprised people. And hopefully some of you guys remember those moments and enjoyed them as well. But yeah, I miss that kind of stuff. Yeah. Now it's more virtual, but
Yeah, for sure. Changed life. Speaking of Ed Boon and fans.
Yes.
How about any impact a fan had on anybody here? Any interaction or any feedback even that was from a fan that maybe have made a little bit of an impact?
Yeah, I think it was after we had finished Ascension, my family and I, we took a tour of Europe. And we were driving around and then stopped at a gas station that also had a Burger King. And I went in and my wife was ordering something in German, and then I went in and took my daughter to the restroom. And then when I came out, my wife was standing there smiling because there was a fan that when she was ordering, he immediately switched over to, do you know Sony Santa Monica? And then she asked, do you know God of War? He immediately switched to English and was asking her these questions. And then she asked me to take a photo with him. So it was just very random, seeing that out and I think my kids love trolling me, because of that. But just seeing that passion around the world and it's fun, obviously coming to events like this, but seeing it just kind of randomly or we were at Disneyland and somebody was telling us, or they were talking about it, and they were talking about God of War 3, and this was this December, and they said, that they were running out of ideas on God of War 3, and I immediately stopped them. I said, no, we didn't run out of ideas on God of War 3. It was the next one. But that was, it was just, good to see that it's still getting talked about. So.
Once game came out, I had an opportunity to actually do some talk in other countries too. And I think it was Brazil. There was like a couple thousand people in the auditorium. I was walking out, and these fans are like reaching out and say, I want to work for a game industry. I want to be a game designer. I want to, because of God of War, right? I think all my life, I thought game really deserves attention, and it can make such a huge impact to the society and everyone. So I think that's something I thought is really cool, to actually see people looking at the game as awesome way of developing their career. So another case is like I think it was a GDC, after the first God of War came out. I hear this music of the theme song. Someone is like blasting the soundtrack and driving around the Sony. What is that building? The Sony.
The Penn Station.
Yeah, the GDC. Moscone Center. So I felt the same way when I was working on God of War 1. We were getting pieces of game as it's getting towards the development, but we never sat down and played the game with full sound and effects and music on. So we're getting like CDs, so sometimes we take it home and put it on the debug and play again and again. But one day I just couldn't believe what I felt. It's like, I realized I was sitting on the edge of my couch because I was so into the game. I'm like, oh my God, this is just crazy, so good. So I think that's the thing, like when vision is so interesting and unique, and it's hard to understand that without everything come together. But so there was like moment like where when you're working on God of War 1, we just didn't know how the fans will like it. And when the game came out, 3 days later, my buddy Max, he called me. I was on a trip or something. He's like, Cecil, did you see the review? What review? He's like, 9.5. and that was it. And then, like you're saying, the God of War 2 was, I just sprint. I cannot believe how many bosses we added, and Corey was, because we were working on a big open studio. So sometimes I leave the studio late at night. I always see like Corey is talking to Jeffy, like figuring out this Minato boss combat, and Eric and Derek is like coming to me about new boss idea for God of War 2. It's just flashback is just so many flashbacks that I have. It's amazing.
If you look online on different forums and things like that, there's like Reset Era, NeoGAF, right? All these places that gamers come and talk about things, and we're reading all of that, right? As developers, we're deep in there. We're like on page 37, reading what some, But early on in God of War 20, what would become God of War 2018, I can't remember, it might have been 2014 or 2015, but some absolute legend predicted that like it would be like they're gonna turn Kratos old and give him a beard and give him an axe, and we're like, how the heck does this guy like who is this? Because no one was close into like predicting anything, but this one guy like said it with confidence too, just like one line, dropped it in there. So if you're out there, then like this fan is a legend. But I always thought about that later. I was like, man.
It was Corey.
Yeah, it was actually Corey. Yeah.
My daughters are both playing games and stuff, and my oldest one just turned 13, and I loaded the PC version of Ragnarok on her Steam Deck, and I left it there for a little while, and she finally was finishing something else, and she started playing it, and she started on a Thursday night, and she finished come Sunday, and she's like, wow, and she's a little annoyed about the PSN login, but I said, sweetie, so are all we. So, but I remember telling Eric Williams, and he was so proud. He was beaming. And I think right now, everybody's God of War is everybody has a first God of War, I think, coming into the franchise. And so it's really been awesome to see kind of like as we kind of collect new fans and they go back to old games and, you know, it brings up memories for us and, you know, what's to come in the future. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, there's been so many fan interactions. So like I mentioned, watching people play the game, because we do that a hell of a lot. And I remember, you know, the first couple of games, you know, we would have our intro like as a demo or something like that, like God of War 2, 1, 3. And sometimes we would go to like a game store to, you know, to help hype up the game, and we'd see people play that demo like for the first time, and their eyes would light up, and you're like, wow, like I guess it's pretty good, because you don't know when you're working on it all the time. And then you know, I remember in God of War 3, I believe, somebody mailed in a controller that was broken because they are like, screw your boss fight, man. This is what it did. Here's the evidence. And I was like, all right, yeah, there's that. And then, but then as I got even older, it's like, then you start seeing people saying that, and I got in the industry after I played like a God of War game, or that motivated me. So you start to just see how the game can hit like so many people in different ways, and you know, whether it's delight or whether it makes you appreciate something, or you like the story or whatever. And it's, you know, part of what I like about the franchise and like about everybody working on it, because the reason it's like that is because everybody's trying to push, you know, many things into the game, not just combat or art or whatever. It's like it's all of it combined. So
I think we still have that controller in the archives. We still have it. Yeah, we saved it.
in a Ziploc bag.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, for me, I'm just gonna say today, like the fact that we're here with all of you guys, and you guys are, you know, you came to see us, and I mean, it's kind of unbelievable, and really appreciate you guys being here today. Like this today would be memorable, or it already is memorable. So I'll pick today as a good memory.
Now, one of the things that is hard to really grasp is how broad the fan base is, right? We live in America, and you know, this is kind of where our roots are. But about a year ago, I was in Saudi Arabia, and I was moderating a panel with His Royal Highness, which is a king there, and we were talking about the game industry and all the good things. And at the end, and of course, these royals walk the hallways, and they've got people all around, and right, it's a big deal. And this was a pretty high-ranking Royal Highness was getting behind esports in Saudi Arabia and really looking to build that part of the industry. And after the panel, I was in the back, kind of mingling, just trying to breathe a little bit. And somebody came to me and said, "You've got a bunch of people out front waiting for you." And I was like, "Oh, I had a small group of people that I was with, but I was like, oh gosh, what is that?" And so I walked out from behind and through a door and all these things, and there was about 25 people that were like, "God of War, this is God of War, we're God of War fans. We want to talk to you about God of War." And I was just like, oh my God, so not expecting any of this, and really getting, you know, taking a few minutes to talk to these folks, and they were rabid God of War fans. It was great. It was just a moment of like, wow, we have collectively, as an amazing group of creatives, touched a far-reaching parts of this world, which I didn't really realize prior to that moment in time. It's really, really special feeling.
If you look on like Twitch, or if you look on YouTube, obviously you're gonna have the big influencers, people playing video games, right? All that stuff, getting all the views, and of course we watch a lot of that. But actually, one of the things that I do personally is I sort by like views in the opposite way. I like seeing people that are streaming to they're just playing the game by themselves, or there's only have an audience of like 1 or 2, because they're not playing for an audience. They're playing because of the game, right? And so I'm often like creeping in there, like they don't know that like a dev is in there. I guarantee you other devs in the industry do this. Like this is a common thing, because you don't know if your game is really, really good. Like if press says it's good, okay, that's one thing. If an influencer says it's good, that's one thing. But until you get someone who's just playing for the sake of playing, not to impress anyone else, not to, you know, pull an ad revenue from somewhere, but someone that's just playing the game for its own sake, that's when you really learn if the game is good. And for my memory, like God of War 2018, I know Vincent Napoli's in the crowd as well, but I know he was doing this too. Like just when the game launched, of just seeing people play the game and their honest reaction playing the game, and especially like working on combat for so long, see people just smile, like they can't stop smiling as they beat the crap out of a Draugr, right? Over and over again. That's earned. And that's a very different feeling. Like, don't get me wrong, it's wonderful to get awards and these amazing reviews, and it really does matter, but nothing quite touches the honesty of just someone that paid their hard-earned cash to buy the game, sit down, have a great time. I mean, that's why we do this. So, yeah, just want to let you know, if ever you're playing by yourself or streaming or something, and there's one person watching, could be a dev. No pressure.
But I think that's always been ingrained in the studio culture, because I remember Todd Pappy saying, is little Timmy in Iowa getting his money's worth for this? Is it the bang for the buck, right? Like, and so it was, how much more can we put in the game? How much more, how many more enemies? Where's another fight? How long can it be? Like, squeezing every last moment we possibly could to surprise and delight as we could, but.
So when Jason was talking about playtests, we had 5 monitors, so you could watch the game, and then you could watch their face, you could watch their reactions, how they sat. I remember always going into those playtests and then being so angry, like, why can't you just get on this climb wall here? But at the end of the day, you'd go home, probably have a beer or whiskey and relax, and then you come in the next day and it's like, they were right. And we have to fix it. And so, like, those play tests and everything like that were so invaluable to us. And I, even to that day, like at other companies, it would be like, how do you play test? How do you do this? Because of the stuff that we learned, or that I learned at Sony, and kind of the honoring the people that are going through and playing it and making sure that you're doing the best that you possibly can.
Anyone have any funny stories? I actually would love to ask, did anyone actually see the ghost in Penn Station? Was there really, truly a ghost?
I mean, nobody really liked to be in the office past like 2 or 3 in the morning by themselves. I think Joel Tobble confesses that he saw the ghost.
So we have one person?
With one person.
So Dave Jaffe loved Halloween, ghosts, the whole 9 yards, and I think he started that rumor, and it, is probably...
High on red lines.
Yeah, yeah. High on red lines. But we did have a fire in the studio, right?
That's true.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was late night, wasn't it?
That was, I got a text message from one of the producers. I had left, it was like 10 or 11 at night, and the text message only said, Studio B is on fire. and my now husband was like, should you go back? And I was like, well, it'll either be there or it won't in the morning. And then I went back, and there was a small electrical fire in one of the bathrooms, and it had made some smoke, but the fire department was called, and we were closing, and I think Steve Caterson, who's the producer at the time, was trying to get everybody out of the building because the fire department said, you have to evacuate, we have to clear the building. And I remember Max Ankar was like, I'm finishing a render, I'm not going anywhere. I kicked this off, I have to start all over again. And I don't remember exactly how they got him out of the building, but that definitely was exciting.
I just remember, Steve, I think that was like 7 p.m. I guess we're smelling something, smoke or something. I remember he was like screaming at us, get out of the building! And we're like, what? But he was really like, in serious, like.
Well, he used to be an
danger.
EMT, so it was definitely, it's like the emergency was everybody get out of the building.
But didn't really develop any further. Fire wasn't.
No, we were okay. We did experience a lot of brownouts, though. Rolling brownouts, and then everybody had to eat the ice cream in the freezer and drink the beer. Because it would go bad, obviously.
It's such a stressful time because you have to save your fire like every 2 seconds. So like save. Is the power gonna go out? It was stressful.
Stressful story about E3 2016. No stress at all, Shannon, right? But that was, obviously the live demo with Cory Barlog up there, and there's a reason why you don't see a lot of live demos from games getting announced, because it's hard as hell and a lot of stuff can go wrong in development. And actually in that demo, there was a known way that you can crash the game. So it actually had to do, if you remember, there's a moment where you're on the ice and you're fighting the troll, and the way the troll looks at you, there's a certain angle, there's a certain time where the whole game can just crash from that. Now, Corey practiced playing a lot, but we didn't have like a ton of confidence that Corey was gonna play it like amazingly. Like he did a really good job. It was awesome. But on the combat side, we're like, remember to hit your marks. You're supposed to be here. You're supposed to look here. And so in the audience, I remember sitting with Jeet next to me, and we both were like, please don't trigger the crash. Please don't trigger the crash. And it all worked out, and it's great. But man, that was stressful. Glad we don't have to do that again.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think the thing with that one was that I think we opened up the presentation, right? So because we didn't know when the game was going to be showed, because they didn't really tell all of us. So we were just sitting in the audience, and then it was right there, like, oh no, Corey, please, you know. So
And everyone's excited. We're just like there, like this, like please, please.
What was the thing where we had some stuff in the PlayStation experience? Remember that PlayStation experience where fans would come? That was cool. We had something on display that actually we forgot had a major spoiler for 2018 on it, and then like we were like, wait a second, and then no one saw it. I think it just like revealed the name of someone. I forget what it was. Do you guys remember anything of that? But anyway, like no one caught it. Like everyone could have seen it, could have found out like a major spoiler of the story, and like luckily no one found out. But it's like right there, out on the open. It's like our worst nightmare. But hopefully, the good thing it didn't happen. No one caught onto it. Yeah.
Collaboration's been huge for this franchise in terms of cross-discipline, with marketing, PR. Any great stories there that we can share with folks on how we were able to unite with someone else and really nail something?
Well, I mean, just with Raph, on 2018, you were like at my desk like every single night, like talking with me and Vince on developing the combat and all of that. And, Raph's making amazing art and we're working on combat, but that's part of the reason that the game comes together is you get this kind of amazing collaboration with different people from different disciplines. And like, he was like, oh, where's the sauce? Like, where are you gonna do something cool over here? What kind of juggles can you do? And you need people like that on the team that are super invested, not just in their own work, but in the work of other partners. And it was like, the game got to where it needed to get in large part because of things like that.
So I guess, Eric and Corey probably deal with it now, but with Stig and Corey and Dave and myself, we had to be the stewards of the franchise and deal with marketing. And I remember marketing sending us God of War underwear. I think and so you got to look through it and you got to say, oh, well, God of War pencils or God of War, packet or something like this. And it's like, no, this doesn't work with the franchise. But you always have to, kind of look at it and go, okay, is this something that the studio, would be proud of and back? So it was always, we had to filter a lot, but dealing with the marketing team that I dealt with for Ascension, as well as God of War 3, and then I was able to go to Greece and represent God of War 2, and be out there when they cut off the goat head and other stuff, and so it's
real story.
Oh yeah, and they had also mentioned that they were going to slaughter pigs and do that, and it was like, no, I'm glad they didn't do that, but it was a great, I
still have all the Slurpee cups.
Exactly, yeah, but and then I think for us, Bruno mentioned Ed Boon, but like as a child, I played Mortal Kombat 2 like crazy, and so he was a major influence on me. And then meeting him with God of War 3, and then working with him on the Kratos in basically the Mortal Kombat there, like that to me was a career highlight. And I think for a couple other people, meeting Kojima and other stuff was.
Stan Lee, he came to the studio as well.
Yeah.
During God of War 3, that was awesome.
Let's go through the table here and talk a little bit about what is called the Pantheon Pummel.
Sorry, the what?
The Pantheon Pummel. You start, Bruno.
So if you guys have been noticing on social media, there's been this thing called the Pantheon Pummel, where we selected, it's basically all the God of War bosses are our favorite ones, and then we have them, we have the fans, you vote on them, and I think we're down to final four, right? We have father and son battles on each side, which is pretty epic. And police, I mean, I'm rooting for Zeus personally, but we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Who thinks who will win?
It's Thor versus.
I think it's Zeus versus Kronos on one side,
Yeah.
and then it's Thor versus Odin.
Odin on the other.
I think Thor is going to come out on top.
You think Thor?
Thor, nice.
All?
Since I'm a level designer, I got to go with Kronos.
Kronos, nice.
I feel like the only reason Odin killed. Sorry, spoilers. Odin killed Thor is because he caught him like off surprise. But I think Thor will kick his ass, and I do think Zeus would win versus Kronos, and then it's the thunder fight. I feel like Zeus might take that, but I don't know.
Oh, Thor's got the mass.
And maybe Thor will take it, but
Zeus is an old man.
I will go with Zeus.
We actually wanted to get Jason McDonald as one of the bosses in there, but he would have cleaned house, so we just said it's unfair, so we took him out. Yeah.
Not fair. But I'm going Thor. I think Odin's gonna do it, but I want Thor.
It's going to be Zeus hands down.
You can see what lunch conversations are like, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I'd like all of us to stand and thank this group of people who have been with us for many, many years. Thank you. Just want to remind everybody there is a team that exists outside of this group that loves every bit of you as well, and thank you on behalf of them for being here with us.